If you've looked at buying computer parts lately, you already know something is wrong. The AI industry is causing severe price increases.
Stuff like memory, hard drives, and graphic cards cost way more than they used to.
We both needed a new computer, but instead of panic buying everything all at once, I spent a few months watching prices, grabbing deals, and slowly collecting parts to build a high-end PC without paying too much extra.
Today we're putting it all together, and then I get Dad's old computer, which is a huge upgrade for me too.
If you've ever wanted to build a computer, but felt like it was over your head, I'm teaching Evan the same way I'd want somebody to teach me. Stick around and check it out.
Hey, what's up guys? I'm Evan.
And I'm Ryan.
Welcome to the Bonding Blueprint. In this video, we're building a high-end editing and gaming computer.
I do all of the editing for our channel, and my current machine has been struggling to keep up. It was built quite a few years ago with only gaming in mind, and editing 4K footage has been pretty frustrating. With AI development only growing faster and computer part prices looking like they're only going to keep climbing, I wanted to get this done now instead of paying even more later.
Plus, when we're done, I get Dad's old computer, and it's way more powerful than the one I use right now.
Which means we can finally start recording some of the games we play together, which Evan's current machine struggles to do.
We do play a lot of co-op and building games, and my current PC can't really keep up when we're recording at the same time.
This is also Evan's first computer build, so we're pretty excited. As somebody who grew up building computers, I consider this almost like a rite of passage for Evan calling himself a PC gamer.
You're gonna see me learning what all these parts do while we put it all together.
If you just want to see certain parts like the graphics card, cable management, or if it blows up when we plug it in, as always, there will be chapters so you can jump around.
I think that's enough talky-talky. Let's get into it.
Sounds good. Let's get started with the case.
Hey, how dare you, bro? That's not nice. Nice.
Oh.
I didn't do it.
Okay. Why don't you come over here for a second? You know what? Let's trade spots. This is weird. I'm on a different side now. All right. So, first thing to do when you're building a PC.
That's the computer.
Well, this is the case, and it's definitely not yours now.
Mine.
You're gonna get my old one.
It's mine now.
All right. So the first thing
I
that
totally bought all of the parts. Well, it's mine now.
Yeah, with your hefty salary.
You're just helping me build it. It's actually mine. You don't have to admit it. It's mine.
So this case is by NZXT, and the first thing that you do is set up the case to put all of the parts into the case. So this is where all the computer parts are going to go, and then this back area is where we're going to do all of our wiring and stuff like that behind the computer.
Wires.
What's that?
I said wires.
Wires?
Yeah.
Well, because you have to have wires in order for everything to talk to each other inside the computer. All right.
Wait, is this plastic?
This is glass, so we do want to be careful with this. This is tempered glass.
Smash.
So what we want to do is we want to take off all of the panels for the case first so we can get to the inside of the case, right?
Yeah.
So on the side panel of the computer, and this is with most computers, it doesn't have to be this specific case, the front panel and the back panel come off of the computer, all right? So what you're gonna do, see that little thumb screw? You shouldn't need a screwdriver for that. Just do it with your thumbs. That's why those are made like that, okay? And the screw doesn't actually come out. It sits in there and floats so you don't lose it, okay? Now, here's the trick, okay? Because this is glass, you wanna be careful with it, right? So you see how there's a little lip here?
I can't go smashy?
No, you can't go smashy. So you see how there's a little lip here? Yes. So grab the glass and pull the glass off, nice and gently. Yep, it'll push out that way. Stubborn.
I thought I was gonna die.
No, well, it has all these little tension racks, okay? Now, the glass itself has a film on it, right? There's a little plastic film on it. We're gonna leave that on there until the very, very end so it keeps fingerprints and scratches off of the glass, and then we'll take it off. Yep. So it looks... Ooh, that's almost like nails on a chalkboard, huh? All right. So we're
messing with your glass.
we're gonna set this aside. All right, so we got the first panel off, and now you can put your hands in there. Whee! Now what we want to do is take off the back panel. So same thing, right? You get a screw at the top, and then just pull it out just like the other one. There you go. Yep, and lift it out. So it's gonna come, down and out. So first things first, what we want to do.
We need to take cardboard out.
Yep. So first thing, what we want to do, and anytime we're laying the case down, we want to be careful with it. Okay.
Yeah. Not break it.
And not break it.
Like I want to do.
Well, definitely don't break my computer.
Because you'll make me pay.
So I will.
How much is this case?
You don't earn a salary yet, so.
How much is this case?
I don't remember. I'll post all the links to all the parts, and then of course you can find the prices.
Take the feet pad off?
No, the feet pad should stay on. There's probably, I think you can peel them off, and you can. Oh, there's screws underneath them to take the feet off if you don't want to use the feet. When we're building the computer, you need to go slow and don't assume you know anything. Okay, because if you touch the wrong thing or you push it in the wrong spot, you could break things. Okay, so this is a go slow, listen to dad kind of thing. All right, this is the first time you've done it. Now, this is a hard drive cage, and it's on the back of the computer. Now, we're not using, computer technology has advanced significantly since I've last built a computer. There's different hard drive types. We're using hard drives that mount directly on the motherboard, okay? And do you know what a hard drive is? Because we're going to talk about the computer components too, so you know what they do inside the computer, right? So a hard drive is like its memory. It stores all the games that we install from Steam, all the files that we have, all the photos we have, the videos we record. Those are stored on hard drives. Now, this is an old hard drive cage. You see how it kind of slides up? So once you take the screw off, it slides up and then it'll come out. So go ahead and take that out. That way. There you go. And then slide it out. And then you'll pick it up. Now be careful because that cardboard box has parts in it. We don't want to drop that out, okay? So, put that there, all right? And then the cardboard box just slides right out.
What about all the other screws?
That's what's, yep. So, right, inside the box is all of the screws that you're gonna need for the various things that we're going to do, mounting the motherboard to the computer and stuff. We're gonna leave these in the box for now because we don't want to lose track of them.
What are these? Are those
Those are zip ties.
I don't even know how to use them.
I'll show you.
You have to like
Nope.
put it in.
It's the other way. So it's the other way around. You can, if you put it in this way, I don't know if you can see it. There's like a little lip inside of the zip tie, and it's got a little tooth on it. And you see how a zip tie has all these little ridges?
Yeah.
Okay. And this side's smooth, right? So if you put it in this way,
there's still ridges right there.
there is. But if you put it in this way, there's no ridges for, see how I can slide it back and forth?
There's a bend.
Because that tooth is on the bottom. But if you go this way and you put it in, okay, and I'm not going to do it. Well, actually, I will. We can sacrifice zip ties. I have plenty. Hear that? And now it can't go out, right? So you can only put zip ties together one way, and then now it won't open up because that little lip or that little notch is in there. Okay, and we're actually going to stick the screw in here. This will be our screw box. So we'll put that over there for now. Now, this, if you were building a computer and you were using old school SSDs they almost look like the size of a credit card, but about a 1/4 inch thick. And then there's also big old hard drives that are like the old disk style. And that
Back
would,
when
that
you
would,
were born, like when dirt.
Yeah, back when you had to walk uphill both ways to school. And yeah, when dirt was invented, this is when I was building computers. Anyway, there's a big hard drive that usually goes in here. But since we're not doing any of that stuff and I have zero plans to put those types of drives in this machine, I'm gonna leave that cage out and we'll save it somewhere in case we decide to expand. Some of the other stuff that you're gonna find, or some of the other stuff you're gonna find in a computer case, okay, is all these different wires with these different plug ends on them.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what those are for, right? We're gonna set them back in here for now because we don't need to do anything with them yet. But those cables are for all these things up front. So the USB jacks, that's the power button.
I'll do it.
Sure, it's not gonna do anything. There's no parts inside of it. But there's like headphone jacks and all those things.
Earbuds?
Yeah, if you wanted to plug earbuds into it and stuff like that. And that's what all these cables are for. Right here, these are wires for the fans that are here, which we're replacing. So we're gonna be taking all of those out and putting new fans in the case. I bought special fans that are RGB and also really quiet and perform really well.
Those thingies.
These are the fans that we're gonna be putting in. This is a graphics card. We'll talk about each of the components.
Why is the fan in the fan? What?
This is a radiator.
No, that.
Liquid.
And that.
Yep. There's computer parts, they get really hot. Computer parts get really, really hot. And if you don't keep them cool, your computer will overheat and shut down or melt and cause problems. I just want to be careful not to rest that glass piece because this is glass too. We don't want to rest that anywhere on the mat. So,
fans.
Yep. So yeah, these fans we're gonna. Yeah, we can actually start taking the, hold on, nope. They don't just pull off, they're screwed in. So when you're building a computer, you're gonna want a couple things, right? You're gonna want a screwdriver with a magnetic tip. Now, in the past, magnets and computer parts, they don't mix. You can wipe a hard drive with a magnet, but magnets were used to, if like there was secure information in their computer, you'd use a magnet to clean off the hard drives. But technology now has come a long way, so magnetic screwdrivers don't impact computer parts. And in fact, you will, most of the time, when you're putting screws into a computer, especially once you get parts in there, if a screw drops, it's a pain to get back out. So you're gonna want a magnetic screwdriver. Yeah, so you're gonna want a magnetic screwdriver just to be able to grab the screws out of the case. I'll link this one down below. This is my new favorite multi-screwdriver. It pops open in the back, has all of the screwdriver bits, here in the back. And the nice thing is the magnet's strong, so it doesn't just open up randomly in the bag or wherever you're using it. That would not be fun. So really strong magnet on the back, stores a bunch of different bits. I like this because the bits are interchangeable, but more importantly, if you push down on this collar, you can actually extend the length of the screwdriver all within this piece. So it's really nice when you want to get in nice and far and deep, but it also doesn't take up a lot of room in the bag. Second to that, I bought this. It's from iFixit. It's like a electronics repair kit. And honestly, I don't think you really need one of these.
Is that a knife?
I think that's like a scraper to get like, if there's sticky stuff on there or something to peel off, that's what those are for. Comes with a nice set of plastic tweezers. All right, so this kit has a lot of stuff in it. Not everything you're gonna necessarily need to use. This is a static electricity bracelet. We'll talk about that in a second. But one of the things that I like about this kit is it has a nice small screwdriver with all these different bits. So it's got pretty much everything you would need. They go down really smaller. Well, they go down actually super small. So this is actually great for electronics, cell phones, watches, anything with super small screws. This is fantastic for that. In fact, close up here. I'll shoot some more footage of these, but it comes with a ton of tiny little bits. Plus it also has, for anybody that's ever done any kind of electronic work, it's also got this flexible extension to it. So you can actually use this to get a screw into a weird kind of spot with a weird angle. In addition to that, static electricity is a thing when you're building computers. Now, again, computer parts have come a long way. Static electricity is not such a big thing. And so, yeah, static electricity, if you do or don't know, right, and you know, because I've done it to you a couple of times, is if you're walking with socks on a carpet or a surface with any kind of fabric, or yeah, like you move your hands together to build up static charge, and then you touch somebody and it does that little shock. That you don't want when you're working in a computer with computer parts. There's a bunch of different ways to ground yourself out. I'm gonna be moving around while Evan's pretty much mostly working in the case. So you'll see me from time to time touch one of these screws on a light switch or an electrical outlet or anything like that. That is a fantastic place to quickly ground yourself out. In fact, if you've been walking around on the carpet, you can almost feel static electricity sometimes. We're in New England, super dry air right now. So you probably wouldn't get this in like Florida, but in New England, where we are, instead of touching somebody and discharging it, you can actually shock yourself by touching one of the screws on an outlet cover or a light cover, and that discharges static. Now, the other thing to do is while you're working in the case, if you've got bare arms, you're not wearing like a hoodie, and you're resting your arms on the case while you're doing stuff in the case, that is going to also discharge that electricity, just having your hands touching the metal case. And then last but not least is a static electricity bracelet. Now, this is probably a little overkill, but we're gonna make Evan wear it.
No, sir.
So what this does is there's a metal piece here, right? And so what that does,
electrocute me? No.
Put it on your wrist. So it doesn't need to be super tight, but it needs to be, decent contact with the skin.
This on me?
Because you're the one that's gonna have your hands in the computer more than me. You just strap it to a part of the metal case, and something that's hopefully not gonna be in the way. And chances are, we will probably stop using this at some point. All right, so that's kind of the startup stuff before we get into some of the meat and the potatoes.
What?
So
we haven't even had lunch yet. It's 11:18, bro.
is that what you mean? Oh, because I said meat and potatoes.
Ha ha ha.
Ha 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 ha. All right, so this is gonna get. Yeah, we'll keep it on there for now. All right, so yeah, why don't you go ahead and start taking off these 4 screws at the top of each of the fans. So the fans are typically held in place by 4 screws in all 4 corners. Make sure when you're taking screws out, right, the screwdriver is angled not down like this, but directly facing it. Otherwise, you'll strip the screw out, and you don't want that. I built using NZXT cases before. Good brand, pretty happy with their cases. They seem to do a good job. Cable management, I am pretty picky about my cable management to help with airflow and heat and dust and things like that. And NZXT cases typically are pretty good, so I stuck with what I know. This was a pretty high rated case. And like I said, the fans are decent, but we're not gonna use them. Fans I usually wait till the end because they can kind of get in the way a little bit and stuff like that. And honestly, the order you put your components in the computer, it's pretty much just up to you and personal preference.
What are the other ones?
We'll go over some of those in a bit. Some people put their motherboard in after they mount everything to the motherboard, and we'll talk about what a motherboard is and why it's important. Other people wait till they get the motherboard in the computer. It's kind of personal preference. I'd say if you don't know, follow along with these steps. If you're somebody who's built a computer before and I'm saying do it this way, it's not the only way to do it. There's multiple ways to handle these things. Now,
also comment down below, like, if you have any tips that my dad is selling at.
If I miss something or I do something wrong, definitely let us know. Anywhere you see these little peely things, take them off now. Usually they're there so you don't get fingerprints and scrape them and stuff like that. But frankly, I've built a computer where I leave all the little plastic pieces on all the stuff, and then I try to get it all later, and sure enough, I forget. So some fans, right, these are RGB fans, so these will actually light up once the case is on. So some fans only have 1 wire coming out of them for power. Other fans have a color control wire that comes out for controlling the color. You see how these have 2 plugs on them, right? So instead of running a wire from the power supply to every single fan you have, what you can do is you can link fans together, right? So now these 2 are attached, and all you have to do is plug power into one run, right? Does that make sense? So you're gonna chain all 3 fans together. So this whole run, I only have to run 1 power cable to this set of fans. Does that make sense? And keep most of your books for your stuff until you're done with the machine and you know it works. And the only reason for that is a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes you're gonna buy a bunch of stuff for your computer, you're gonna put it all together and something's wrong, right? One of the fans might not work, one of the parts might not work, and you might have to send it back and get a replacement. So keep all of your stuff, don't throw it away as you're building. So when you put fans into a case, right, some fans are gonna push air into the case and some fans are gonna push air out of the case. And depending on which direction you put the fan in is going to change the direction that the air goes through the fan. So if you just throw a fan on there and you're not paying attention to which direction the fan goes, you might mount it wrong. And then we gotta take it all apart later, okay? So let's get the arrows. And that tells you which direction the air is gonna flow through the fan. And these fans, we wanna push air into the case with, or it's called an intake fan because it's pulling air in, okay? Does that make sense? Now, in addition to that, you see all the wires? Do you remember where the wires were before, how they fed in? Yep. So you wanna take those wires and feed them into that side hole.
That was the top.
So this is the arrow, and we want the air to be pulled into the case, right? Okay, so these are what are called self-tapping screws. So you're going to need,
I know, I'm trying to hand.
you're gonna need the screwdriver. Just, you know, I get you're trying to do it by hand, but these are screws that are meant to drill into plastic. Okay, so you're gonna need the screwdriver. Now push hard. So Evan made a good point. We should probably put this panel back on. And these aren't magnet, they're actually, they're little tension, rubber tension clip type things that just kind of pop into place. Yeah. There we go. So there's going to be 2 big fans in the bottom that are going to also be intake fans.
There's 2 more fans?
There's actually 3. There's 2 there, a fan there, and then we've got the water cooler, which is going to be an exhaust that mounts up to the top. If we look at the inside of the case, right, and our fans are here, so the power supply, where all the power wires are going to come from here, behind this big wall, okay? So anytime we want to run cables, we want it to point towards that back wall, because you don't want a bunch of wires in this area. So first, fan direction again, double check it. So I want this pulling air into the case, right? So that's the direction. So I want the fan in here like this, but this wire coming out the front of the case is not a good idea. I want the fan wires to go out the bottom and the back so they're nice and hidden.
Dun, dun, dun.
All right, so you got all the wires in.
Right.
Yeah, you got the fan in place. Now, what didn't you do? What do we do before we put a fan in the case?
Check the direction.
Correct.
I did do that.
You did. Now look at this fan, which we know is correct, and look at that fan. Do those look the same?
I had checked it. It said it was blowing that way, and it was going out that way.
And we want the fan to be pulling air into the case, right? Sometimes learning is a pain, huh?
Yeah, it sucks.
Well, but you're learning important things. Because even if we weren't building a computer, it's important to pay attention to details, right? You can't just throw it like with Legos. With Legos, we look at the directions and sometimes you skip looking at the directions and you slap a bunch of stuff together and hope it works. And then you get a couple pages down and you realize it doesn't. With computers and electronics and wiring, and this will go for the Iron Man helmet project, when we start doing those things, you have to pay attention to the details because sometimes you only get one shot to get it right, right? Computer's not a big deal because you can undo stuff. I could buy new fans. It's not the end of the world. And that's why I'm letting you learn and make mistakes and figure out how things are done. So the first thing we're going to do is the motherboard, okay?
Oh, God.
Now, this is a motherboard, and I like to think of the motherboard like your, what does your brain do? Your brain thinks, right? It processes thought,
That
crunches numbers,
Doesn't this thing?
right? So your brain is this. This is a processor, okay? And it goes in this spot right here, okay? This is the brain. This does all the number crunching, all the calculations, all the math that your computer needs to do.
Brain, 'cause it's so big.
Okay. The motherboard is like all your veins in your body or your nerves in your body sends information to all your different parts. So the brain goes here, right? This is where the RAM is going to go. Do you know what RAM is? RAM is like, it's almost like short-term memory, right? So the hard drive stores like all of your information, okay? This is short-term memory. This is like if you're eating a burger, it loads up the information about how to eat a burger into your RAM. So you remember what it is you're doing at that time. So like when we play a video game, all of that game is loaded up onto the RAM so it can quickly access it. It's still in the hard drive, but it's loaded this up into its immediate memory so it can use it really, really fast.
Out of your old computer and put it in this?
No, this is new RAM. All right, so motherboard, we'll cut to the chase. All right, so those are kind of the pieces and parts on the inside of the motherboard. When you open a motherboard, it's gonna come with one of these books. Now, I'm not gonna beat this up a lot, but you wanna keep this book very handy because you're gonna need to look up different things like the RAM has to go in specific slots, where does the graphics card go, where's the hard drives go. All these things are things we're gonna plug into them. So we're gonna be running power and fans and all that stuff into the motherboard. The motherboard controls all the stuff in the computer, including the fans. Okay, so we want to keep this book handy. This is a Wi-Fi motherboard, which comes with an external antenna. So we'll set that aside. That doesn't go in the computer. That's just something we're going to attach once it's in the office. Okay, so when you're working with the motherboard, you want to be careful because this is a static bag. So when you take it out of the box, you want to be very careful about where you grab and what you hold on to. You don't want to rip components off the board. So you want to kind of like grab the sides of the boards without getting the pins and stuff like that, right? Actually, you know what? I'll take it out of the box since this is fragile. We got some cool stickers. You can have them if you want. And then it just comes with usually like a bunch of cables, various things that we're gonna maybe or maybe not use. So typically when you're building a computer, you're gonna get tons and tons of parts and not everything you use. In fact, you're gonna have a lot of leftover material, screws, nuts, bolts. So if you get everything put together and you get a bunch of leftover parts, don't think you did something wrong. They just include, because there's all these different parts you can put in a machine, not just the basics, they need to include screws and pieces and parts. Oh man. Hey, you're for those who dare. So anyway, they will send everything in the kitchen sink with these parts to make sure that you have everything for every scenario that you're building. These bags that this stuff comes in, they're static bags. Go discharge because you were walking. Okay. Yep. Now, when you're working with a motherboard or electronics, before you touch it, always discharge your static electricity. Now, on the back of the motherboard, it comes with a foam pad, okay? And that is all little soldering points, and they're sharp, right? So you want to be careful not to
touch one.
You can touch one. Go ahead. Like that one, those are pointy. Okay. And these are all this is soldering. This is all electronics that's soldered, and you can see, like here, right? And on this, oh, well, it's covered up. But all these little tiny capacitors and resistors, these like store power and do thinking and a bunch of other stuff. And all of those are soldered on the other side of the board. In fact, when we build the Iron Man suit, we're gonna be doing this. We're gonna be soldering some of these pieces into boards and wires, and you can touch anything on the board. You're just gonna
push it?
No, that you don't wanna do. These things are all very fragile. You wanna be careful, because if you were to like push it that way, it would snap it off. And one of these things broken means the whole thing doesn't work anymore. Is typically what ends up happening.
That's bad.
That is bad. So you definitely don't want to do that. Okay. Okay. So a couple things that you need to know before we put the motherboard in. Okay.
Yeah.
There are in the case. See all these pieces here?
Yeah.
These match up to screw, 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 screw,
Yeah.
screw. Okay. So we're going to be putting the motherboard in place.
And then we have to screw.
And then we get a screw. This thing here.
This thing.
Okay, this piece here, remember on the back of your computer, this is where all your stuff plugs in, right? You know, all your cords and cables that plug into the back of your computer.
So
and that goes in this window. Okay, so we're gonna put this here. And
I'm not comfortable lifting that and that pudding.
You're not comfortable doing that?
I don't want to.
Fair enough, okay. So, all right. But I'd like you to watch me do it so you can see how it's done, okay? It's not difficult, but I can appreciate the fact that you want to be careful. When I pick up the motherboard, I want to hold it from the sides. I don't want to touch a lot of the surface. I don't want to touch the back. I want to hold it from the sides when I pick it up, okay? So I'm going to put this corner in first, and I'm going to make sure, and you want to be careful because after I set it down, it's resting on the screws, right? So you don't want to move it around until it's in place, okay? So I'm going to very carefully lower this in and not scrape it on those screws. And I'm just gonna get it lightly in place. Okay. Yeah, that fan cable's kind of a pain in the boot. All right, and then you're gonna push. And so like looking over here, come over to this side. Or actually,
it's not aligned.
This way, probably shouldn't.
You have to like push it in.
Yeah, so you see how it's not quite lined up, but also looking down into the case, and I don't know if you can see it, the screw holes aren't quite lining up there either, right? So we gotta, there, right? The screws for the motherboard are in this pack. If I was doing this the first time, you can look at the motherboard manual and it'll tell you what size screws to use in the different spots.
Why can't you just use that?
What's that?
Can't you just use that?
I could, but I also know that it's usually one of these two types of screws, so I'm just gonna go and test it this way instead. That's much tighter. Yep, that's the right one. Okay, not super, super tight, just a little tight. Do you wanna do the rest?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the screws in, so the motherboard's installed. So yeah, I think the processor, and then we'll put on the...
I accidentally touched that.
Pretty small for the brains of the operation, huh? And when you go to take the processor out, make sure you don't touch the back of it, because that's where all the pins are, right? Okay, now, before you take that out, there's a couple things that you need to know about a processor, okay? One,
don't touch the bottom.
Don't touch the back, where all the pins are, okay? And then,
be cool.
On the four corners, of a processor,
There's an arrow
there
on one
is an
side.
arrow in one of the corners.
Let me guess, that has to go in the upper left.
So that arrow, look in here. So if we take off the safety shield, if you pop open the processor housing, there's also an arrow right there too. Okay, so when you put the processor in, it's very important.
And there's also a little A.
There is also there too, yeah. So it's important when you put the processor in that arrow lines up, okay? So very carefully, grab the processor out and you'll have to grab the sides. Now, very gently, it needs to fit in there, okay? Should be lined up, nice and centered. So you wanna push that lever down and then move it off to the side.
That seems way too tight.
And then under that lip, there, that's the processor's installed. And it's meant to be tight because it has to have really good connection with the underside there. All right, so that's the processor in place. Thermal paste goes here, so it makes for a better contact between the two metal surfaces when they go together so it can pull the heat. But you know what happens when you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you have like a ton of peanut butter and jelly and then you put it on and you push it down and it goes off the sides? Thermal paste will do the same thing, right? Because you're talking about two pieces of metal and you're gonna slap them together like really, really tight.
Put a bit on.
So if you put too much on, the paste will leak out onto the sides of the processor, and that is bad. That's very bad. So what you have to do is you gotta put only a thin sheet of thermal paste on the processor.
Thin. This is gonna be mine.
Actually, I think I already, there we go. Okay. Book you wanna save. So, yeah, go ahead, set that aside. All right, comes with some wires. Go ahead, you can start taking stuff out. Just be careful when you pull it out because it's probably all one piece. Oh, yeah, I think now what we gotta do is take, all right, so these are the fans. And this is the radiator. So we wanna pull it all out as one part. So you've got the electronics, okay? And then part bags, okay? You start unpacking. We might not need actually, these mounting things, there's two types of processors in the world. There's Intel, and there's AMD. We're doing AMD. So we don't need the Intel kit, so we're not gonna open that up.
Ew, do we take this thing out?
No, so that's the radiator. So just like a car, right?
Radiator.
There's a radiator, and what it does is when there's liquid that runs all the way from this, which this is way bigger than I thought it was gonna be. This goes on the processor, right? And this is thermal paste on the back, and that's that metal thing I was telling you about that makes contact, right? And then this is a big screen. There's water, or it's cooling liquid inside these hoses and all inside this radiator. In fact, yeah, you can't, if you look through it, right, it actually see-through.
Yeah, I can see it.
Right?
You have to look at it through a certain angle to see it.
But inside of each of these little fins is the water. And so what happens is the fan is gonna sit here and it's gonna push air through it, which is gonna cool all the fins, all the liquid. So it takes hot water from here that absorbs from the processor, runs into the radiator, and the radiator cools it and then pushes it back into the processor. So it constantly takes hot water and replaces it with cold water. Does that make sense? And this is a liquid cooling system. You can just get an air cooler that has a fan on it attached to this, but I like...
We just have a fan that attaches?
I like liquid cooling better, it does a better job. And it keeps the temperature lower. And if I decide I wanna overclock the processor, which is like putting it into boost mode, like instead of it running at 100%, it'll run at like 125%, you have to have a super cooler to kind of keep the processor cold. What we have to do first, okay, is this comes with thermal paste on it. And I'm gonna take the thermal paste off and apply my own thermal paste. I buy nice thermal paste, and from what I was told back in the day, the thermal paste that comes on these is usually cheap and I don't like to use it. It might have changed, NZXT might do a great job with that, but I'm going off of some historical knowledge, from the beginning of time when dirt was...
Back when dinosaurs were around?
Yeah, back when dinosaurs were around, when I was building computers. And a pterodactyl flew by and said, "Squawk! Don't use that stock thermal paste, squawk!" It looks like these slide out. Yeah. All right, so these slide out, these brackets slide off, because these...
There's also another one.
Yeah, and so this was in the Intel bag, or the AMD bag, and it's the AMD brackets, and that's what we need to replace those with these. because we have an AMD and those are for the Intel, which is a different kind. Here, take those out for me, please.
Why can't we use the Intel?
Intel's a different type of processor. I chose AMD because their price and performance, in my opinion, is currently a little better than Intel at the moment. All right, so then we take these brackets and we
do something.
Slide them back in. Chunk. All right, so first we gotta install the fan onto the radiator. Yeah, so first we wanna use the long screws. So once you dig out, you're gonna need 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the long screws. All right, so screws, and we're gonna put them in place.
Screws.
So why don't you dig out, count how many, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. 12 screws. 12 screws and 12 washers, and put the washers on the screws for me. And then while Evan's doing that, I'm going to take the thermal paste off of the existing heatsink, peel off the majority of it. Just see, comes off like chunky paste. And then isopropyl alcohol or rubbing alcohol. And I just put a little bit on a paper towel. And you can see there's a little bit of residue still here. So you just take the isopropyl alcohol and you clean it until you get all the residue off from the previous. Get the copper as clean as possible. Thank you for helping with something you're not necessarily interested in. Sounded good, sounded fun on paper, and then you actually had to do it. Less fun, huh? It's definitely a lot of screwing stuff together. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to get the thermal paste.
You're doing that.
That's falling, all right? And what I like to do is put something down. Good amount of thermal paste. And then I'm gonna take a credit card, or any kind of card really, and I like to just kind of scoop up the thermal paste on the edge like that, okay? Just so there's a little bit.
So like spackling?
Yeah, it's almost just like spackling, yeah. So I'm gonna take that thermal paste, and I don't know if, can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so we're just gonna slowly put some thermal paste. This is actually gonna make it a little easier to apply, so kind of cool that they included it. It's actually a really thick thermal paste. So again, we're gonna just put a little bit on the top, but you wanna be careful when you're putting the thermal paste on the processor, it doesn't go off the edge, right? So you wanna make sure that you're getting it on there. It's just important to not get it in the processor or over the edges. Anyway, just a nice thin sheet, because when we sandwich the metal, and it does, oh, I didn't put the brackets on yet, whoops. I jumped the gun on my thermal paste.
What?
There's some brackets we need to install on the back of the machine first. All right. That's not as pretty as I usually like to do it, but it's got a nice thin layer of thermal paste and it'll smooth out. This is why you save the manuals, because each installation has something just a little bit different. And in this case, it's going to be the brackets need to come off the motherboard here so we can make room for the brackets that are used to mount the liquid cooler to the processor. So we're just pulling these stock brackets off the processor area. These screw into these 4 holes that you just took off. Okay. Got it? Where you going?
Get water.
Unacceptable. I didn't say you could hydrate.
Why?
Now I'm gonna need your help again. Hold this. I mean, like, pick it up. Sorry, I'm gonna have you hold on to it. Okay. Now, yours is gonna kind of go in here.
This is gonna be hard.
Yep, I just wanna get this cable. See that cable? I'm trying to get in that hole there. A little further. Push it in. Okay. See the cable that's right underneath the fan in that back corner? You just need it pulled out of the way. You can pull it up over the motherboard. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Oh no.
What?
Oh, okay, got it. I think you don't always mount the radiator to the fan before you put it in place, and it makes the fit really tight. Okay, I guess you don't need to hold it. Thank you. That's good. And then that'll do for right now. So you're gonna put that in on those standoffs that we just installed. And as you tighten it down, that's gonna sandwich the thermal paste, and it's gonna spread it out across the processor. Have I taught you when you're installing like a tire on a car and you kind of do the opposite lug nuts, right? So you go to the opposite sides and then you tighten them down tighten down each one. So you just get it just a little bit tight, just so it's on there. Because then what we're gonna do is we're gonna cross tighten them. So we're gonna go a little tight on each screw. Because what you wanna do is you want it to go down flat. You don't want one side to go down first and then the other side, because that's not good for it. Come on, what are you doing?
What happened?
This one doesn't want to go on. It feels like it's stripping out or it's not the right thread. And I don't know if it's stripped or if each side of the standoff pin has a different thread.
One side was smaller, and the smaller one, it just wiggled around.
Yeah, it's just one that got flipped over. It's fine. All right, so this is the case where you go a little bit on that side, and then you go across to the other side, tighten it a little bit, and you kind of keep going opposite corners and screwing down each side. All right, so that's wrenched down pretty good. Okay, so now we got to put in the screws for the radiator.
The radiator.
The ruderator.
Wait, what's the radiator?
The ruderator.
The radiator? What?
Except, how does this top panel come off?
Does it not?
Ah, pops off just like the other stuff.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. All right, start feeding some screws.
Wah.
Just do the 4 corners for right now, and then you can put the ones in between. While Evan is putting in
said screwsies.
the screws. Now, when you get these hard drives, and these are the PCI 5, and what is it? I always forget. NVMe hard drives, okay? These are hard drives. These are what the new hard drives look like. These are the fastest hard drives I believe you can purchase right now. And one of them comes with a heat sink, and the other one did not. And that was for no reason other than the fact that one of them shipped faster than the other, and there was only like a $10 price difference. I have a 2 terabyte drive for the main drive and a 4 terabyte drive for my secondary one. Did you already get all the screws on? Tightened? All tightened down too? Good job. So now we've got the radiator fully in place up there. I think that camera sees it. Okay, so now we're gonna install the hard drives, all right? So I need you to reach in here and take off these 4 screws. So this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw, because this plate needs to come off, okay? Because one of the hard drive mounting locations is buried behind that plate. Okay. And it has, oh, this whole thing is a heatsink. Interesting. Now, if you buy the heatsink version and you remove it, it does void the warranty, so keep that in mind if you decide to purchase the version with the heatsink. I'm relying on the stuff inside the motherboard to keep the hard drives cool. Do you remember?
What's that?
That's the power supply. That's gonna go in probably last. The wiring at the end is the longest part, and this thing that you're probably not gonna care the most about.
No. You could always do that while I'm gone.
Okay, so this is the hard drive. So tiny for storing all kinds of information, huh? All right, so can you pull this brick off? That's the heat sink for that. Do you remember how to do it? Got it. Okay, so now I will take that. So now what we need to do is we need to find the screw that goes in this little tiny hole. So I want to put this in first, and then we're going to try this out. All right, so we're going to take this little pad off, and that's thermal paste, or thermal tape, I guess. And so see how that little circuit thing here? Mm-hmm. That receives the little circuit there, okay? So what we're going to do is we take it and we put it in that slot first at like an elevated angle. You want to do it lifted up a little bit. No, it's less than that, but you know, because see how after I let it go, it just floats up, and then that goes down, and normally there's a screw that goes right there that holds that in place. But we actually probably don't need it because the heat sink's gonna hold it down. That would normally hold it in place. Oh, it doesn't need a screw. There's a little latch on it. You see that gray latch?
Yes.
That actually closes over the top of the drive once it's in place. All right, so then, do you want to do this part?
No.
So now we've got the thermal paste here on the top too. And so this lip goes in here first, right? So we kind of push that in there so it sits, and then you're just gonna slowly That's it. That is installing a hard drive now. Before, you had to screw in a bunch of stuff and power it up and a bunch of other things.
We're done?
Just for that one. So now we're gonna put in another one. So now we're gonna install another hard drive. All right, so this, okay, is gonna go in this slot and it's gonna attach there, okay? So first, the circuit board end goes there. And hold on, you see how there's a spot for the small end and then a spot for the large end. So you have to put it in the correct direction, okay? So slide it in there first, nice and even, nice and gentle. You have to go down a little bit more and then push it in. Should go further. Okay, this is the gray piece.
Yeah.
Okay, that pushes down. Now push down on that, and then that comes up and latches it in place. And that's how those hook up.
I think
now.
this also is
They no longer
to turn it up.
They no longer need screws apparently. They're screwless now, where they weren't before. Okay, that's the last thing that we have to install in that spot. So now you got to put it right back into place, right where you took it off, and all the screws have to line up. Okay, so that's back on. So now we've installed 2 hard drives. Why don't you go get the box of RAM?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I like that. RAM, borrow this for a sec. Okay. So RAM, all right, this slot on the RAM is not actually centered. Okay. This side's just a little shorter than this side. All that to say, you can only put RAM sticks in one direction. You can't put them in the opposite direction. Okay.
I think that is smarter than that.
All right. Now, there's 4 of these. Okay. And it does matter which RAM stick goes in which hole. All right, so in here are these little latches, and that is what's gonna hold the RAM in place, but you gotta open them up before you put the RAM in, okay? Then on top of that, so that RAM needs to go in specific pairs. In tiny little text, you can see it says first and first. And what that means is your first RAM that goes in needs to go in A2 and B2. See how the pin is not quite in the right spot?
Yeah.
Okay, which means
To flip it.
the RAM needs to go in that way. Okay. Okay, so now you're in, but now you get to push it. Hold on, listen. Push it on both sides on the top, straight down, and you'll hear it click. See how I had to really push on that, right? And you see this, like the lever in the back?
Yeah.
The lever closes around the RAM, so now you know that's in. Grab the second one and you do that one. Hard to remember which side the tab is on. So look and see the tab. I think you're just in a bad vantage. There you go. There, and all right, you're good in both spots. Yep, so push down on both. No, it does. RAM feels like you're gonna break it when you go to put it in, but you gotta just put some oomph into it. All right, so that's the RAM installed.
R.I.P. box.
R.I.P. box. So as you can see, we're going for a white build. So you see this slot right here? That is that same slot that this is, right? So what I want to find out first, count this thing's huge, is which slots we have to take out, which it does look like, yeah, it is the top 2. So take those 2 screws out.
Why do you have to take these screws off?
So you know how your monitor plugs into the back of your computer?
Yeah.
So you see these things? That's where your monitor plugs into the back of the graphics card. And so what you're doing is you're opening up the doors, so this can face out the back so you have a place to plug in your screens and stuff. You wanna try to install this?
Sure.
Okay.
Why do these have more fans?
Because the graphics card is another thing that gets incredibly hot. So take that white sleeve off and then try not to touch the metal parts once you've taken it off. Try not to grab it from this exposed part. It's heavy.
Wait, so I can grab the bottom?
Yep. Yeah, it's got a shield. It's got a protective shield on the back. See how the backs, you just don't want to touch that too much. And careful not to rake this. And don't touch that. Okay? So you've got it in the correct orientation in your hand at this moment in time. Try not to hold the fan. Take your other hand and put it where my hand is. Okay? Because you're going to hold it from the top. And then you need to guide it in there. Did we cut that in the right spot? Nope. All right, let me take that out. Take the third one off, please. I misjudged. In fact, you could take that one off and move it back up to the top. If you leave big giant openings in the case, things can get inside, whether it's rodents or dust or dirt or other things. You really want to try to keep the entry holes small, so big stuff, big particles, big things can't get sucked into the computer or blown into the computer and things like that. So that's why you don't want to leave too many excess holes floating about. besides air holes, obviously. All right, let's try this again, okay? I'll grab it here. You take it on either side of my hand, okay? So same thing. You want to line up that circuit board. There you go. And then you push it until it goes click. I guess that one didn't click.
I mean, it looks in the right spot on this side.
You're in the right spot. Yeah.
Can I take all the plugs things off?
No, you want to leave those. Those are dust covers. So I'm only going to take the covers off on the ones
that you need.
That I actually need to expose. Correct. Yeah. Now, the card kind of sits in here and wobbles. So you know those screws you took out? Now you're going to put them back in. There you go. Nice work. You're pretty much ready for some automotive work now.
What?
I'm going to teach you how to take apart an engine.
What?
Okay, that's graphics card. So now we're going to install the power supply.
Maybe we will finish this.
No, we'll get all the hardware in, but then we're going to have to stop.
Would you do that while I was gone?
I guess it's not something you want to do. So if wiring isn't something you're interested in learning,
No, I don't.
then that's part of the lesson for the Bonding Blueprint channel, right? Is hey, you could teach a kid how to build, but at 10 years old, it's not super interesting. And maybe if we get parts for your computer, right? You build a new computer at some point, you might be more interested in doing those things, but you might also just not care, right?
Or I just want you to do it.
Or you just want me to do it. Well, there's times where you're going to be doing things too, but for right now, it's fine if you don't want to help with all the wiring.
Hallelujah, we've done it.
Power cord. We're definitely going to need that. Oh, look at you breaking out the accent.
Say power cord.
There you go. All right.
Say power cord.
Power cord.
Power cord.
Now, this is a power supply, okay? It's basically just a big brick. So, power supply, right? This whole thing powers the entire computer.
That's crazy.
It's pretty awesome. And these are all, this is what's called a modular power supply, which just means back in the day, old as dirt, used to build computers, there used to just be a massive thing of plugs that came off of this thing. And you'd plug in 3 things and then you'd have all these other plugs that you'd have to hide. Now they make them so you only plug in what you actually need, which is pretty cool. Yeah, these are all the different wires that you might need. Now, I'm not going to use nearly all of these because I'm not putting a lot of components in there, but there are a lot of wires we have to put in place. Now, this part, right, this is what faces out towards the person.
Can I turn that on?
Sure. Oh, this thing got heavy all of a sudden once we put everything in here. In this case, the power supply goes on the back. I wanted a shorter case. It's a little bit wider to accommodate for the power supply. Sometimes, in a lot of cases right now, the power supply actually goes, and I'll show some footage of my current computer, but the power supply usually goes underneath the motherboard. So towers are usually a little bit taller, and the power supply goes underneath.
You almost made me fall back.
That's why I grabbed you to make sure I didn't drop you. So keep in mind when you're putting the power supply in, you're not blocking off the modular ports. Just trying to move stuff around so the camera can see a little bit of it. There you go. Nice and tight.
We've done it.
We've done it. All right. Okay. So at this point, Evan and I need to go to hockey. We've got a hockey game today. And
I'm goalie.
So yeah, Evan's playing goalie for a while. That's all the hardware in the computer. We'll come back later. I'll probably finish up the wiring myself. And we'll walk through that and software install. Let's talk about the build process. How do you feel about it?
It was good.
It was good.
Once it's actually complete, it looks cool.
What? Okay. All right. So building it wasn't super fun for you?
No.
Okay. Did you enjoy learning about what's inside the computer? No. Was it too much explanation?
No, frankly, I just didn't care that much.
You just wanted a computer. You just want your new computer so you can play some games.
And I just wanted,
You just want it done.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there you have it, right? Not everything on the Bonding Blueprint goes according to plan. And sometimes we do things and Evan doesn't have a good time and that happens. So
I dare you to blow it up.
I'm not going to blow up my brand new computer. And we haven't even turned it on yet. So we're not 100% sure that it works, but...
I bet it's going to blow up the first try.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm not trying to jinx
Not
you.
my new baby.
It's not your new baby, bro.
It's your brother.
Huh?
You finally got a sibling. Look.
Yeah.